Okay. So, Yankov?
Okay, so we ended off last time talking about the this the Feierung, the celebration of
Yeah.
learning to starting to learn Chumash at the Cheder.
Yeah. Okay.
And okay, so wir soll nicht sein. Man hat von mir kein Sude zum Chumash unheben nicht gemacht. Whatever.
Hey, I'm not on the right place. You said 32?
Yeah.
32 is a Bild.
Yeah, that's Josie's fun build.
Farmbild. Oh, yeah. Oh, ich hoffe das, ja. Ah, danke.
Okay, so
Okay.
wir soll nicht sein, whatever the case, they didn't prepare a Suda, a meal, a celebration for me when I began to study Chumash. Bloß der Melamed ist gekommen, Shabbos noch ein Schlof, mich verherren bei meinen Taten. The Melamed came on Shabbos after the Dremel to examine me in front of my father. Das ist gewesen die erste große Enttäuschung in mein kinderisch Leben. This was the first great disappointment in my childish life. Noch größer ist gewesen die Busche in Cheder, wo die Engler haben mit mir gereizt, der Fahr und gespott von mir. So, even greater was my shame in Cheder, where the other children, the little boys, teased me about this and mocked me.
Sorry, Yankov, isn't it Gesposs?
No, gespott.
Gespott?
Yeah.
It's not machen a Speis? Like machen a Speis, the same word?
No, this is, it's a test.
Okay, thank you.
Shaila Kutner, man hat dir nicht gemacht, kein Suda, haben sie gesungen. Und geteilt mir mit die Finger, geteitelt mir mit die Finger und die Augen in die Augen rein. So Shaila Kutner, after whom he was named, that was a Zayda. They didn't make you a Suda. They sang to me and they pointed their fingers right in my eyes. Und, ja. Ich habe geweint mit bitteren Tränen für mein Vater. I cried bitter tears to my father. Hat gelacht von meiner kindischen Tragödie. And he laughed at my childish tragedy, in inverted commas. Wir können besser lernen von sei alle, hat mir versichert. You'll be able to learn to study much better than any of them, he assured me. Wirst auswachsen an Landen, a zweiter Rebbe Hoshua Kutner. You'll grow up to be a scholar, a second Reb Yeshua Lakutner. Ich habe nicht gewollt auswachsen kein Reb Yeshua Lakutner, but I didn't want to grow up to be a Reb Yeshua Lakutner. Ich habe gewollt als Suda mit Stein auf den Tisch, mit haltener Drosche, mit kriegen Matones. I wanted to have a Suda with standing on the table and giving a drosha, a talk, and with receiving gifts. Wie viel mein Vater hat nicht gewischt mit sein Reuter keschene Patschele, die Tränen von meinen Augen, hat sie nicht gekannt auswischen. As much as my father tried to wipe away my tears with his red handkerchief, he couldn't, to wipe the tears away from my eyes with his red handkerchief, he couldn't wipe them, he was unable to wipe them away.
You want to continue or should I?
Yeah, I'll continue a bit.
Go ahead.
The Perek heißt a Tragedie zu dem, was man hat in Himmel verbitten die Yotzres. So the tragedy that in heaven they forbidden the Yotzres is to confound one thing with another, to mix up one thing with another. Unser Stub ist gewinner an Umetiker. Und ich hab darüber von Kindweis an nicht lieb gehabt die Heim nor die Gas. Our home was cheerless. And for that reason, from childhood onwards, I didn't love being at home, but rather being in the street. Schuldig in dem Umet in Heus ist erstens gewinn die Teire. Was hat ausgefüllt jeden Winkel und gelegt sich schwer auf ein Gemüt von den Menschen. So what was responsible for the gloom in the house was firstly the Torah, which filled every corner of the house and rested very heavily on the mood of the people in the house. Es ist gewinn mehr beschmedres wie Stub, a Haus von Gott anstatt a Haus von Menschen. It was more like a study house than a house of God instead of a house of people. Zweitens ist schuldig gewesen in dem der nicht zugepasste Zivug zwischen Tate und Mama. And secondly, responsible for the responsibility for the gloom lay with the ill-matched union between the parents. Tate Mama wollten gewinn a zugepasste Paar wenn die Mama wird gewinnt der Tata und der Tata die Mama. So that the parents would have been a matched pair if my mother had been my father and my father had been my mother. Aber der Fall ist gewinn verkehrt. But in reality, it was the opposite way around. Okay.
Okay.
Entschuldigt mir, Susan is with us.
Oh,
Good. Okay.
okay. Schon äußerlich ist jeder von sie nicht gewinn zugepasst zu sein Rolle. Each one of them was not suitable for his or her role. Der Tate ist gewinn klein, gewichsig, rund, mit a Weich, zart und schön Pony. My father was a little man, round, with a beautiful, gentle face, a beautiful, gentle, and a soft face, mit warme, blaue Augen, with blue, warm eyes, mit volle rote Backen, with full red cheeks, mit an abgetockter kleiner Nose, with a turned little nose, mit weiche weiberische hand, with soft womanly hands, azoi as wenn nicht sein hübsche reutlach bräune Bord und dunkele gekräselte Pees, gelockte wie Korkniziers, wollte ausgesehen hübsch, weiblach und zart. So that if not for his big red brownish beard and dark curly payas, it's side locks, right, in English, that were curled like corkscrews, he would have looked very womanly and soft and gentle. Mein Mutter ist gewesen hochgewichsig, etwas übergebeugt, mit kalte, große, große, durchdringliche Augen, mit a scharfer Nose, mit a leicht herausgedrückten Kinn, knochig, scharf, verspitzt. An emesser Mannsbild. Now he is describing that his mother looks masculine, while the father looks feminine. My mother was tall, a little bent, with eyes that were cold, big, penetrating, and with a sharp nose, with a it's like a pointy chin, like bony chin, bony chin. Yeah, and bony and
Pointed.
Sorry, what did you say?
Pointed.
Pointed. Okay,
Pointed
you.
to.
point, yeah. She was a real man. Wie physisch, also seien sie euch gewinn geistig stark verschieden. Just like physically, they were also spiritually very different. My father was indeed a Jew, a scholar, and somebody who wrote, who renewed,
An innovator.
Thank you, an innovator. There goes my English teacher. Thank you, an innovator. Aber kein größer Charif ist nicht given, but he wasn't all that sharp in all that. Ist given mehr Mensch von Herz wie von Moach. He was more a person of the heart than of the brain. Hat euch genommen Sachen gutmutig und nicht lieb gehabt, rein zu dringen, zu tief in Unionen. He also took things lightly, with a good mood or positively, and he didn't like to get too much, too deeply into things. Hat בכלל nicht lieb gehabt, anzustrengen sich zu viel. He generally, he did not like to make too much of an effort about anything. Hat euch keinmal nicht gezweifelt in Sachen, hat geglaubt, Menschen und no mehr Gott. He did not like, he did not go into doubt so much. Didn't question things. He trusted people, and more so he trusted God. Sein Glauben in Gott, in sein Teure und in Tzadikim ist given mamish ohne Grenze. His belief in God, in his Torah, and in the righteous was really with no boundaries. Hat keinmal nicht übergetracht God's drachim. He never ever doubted the ways of God. Nicht gehabt kein Verribel, nicht gewusst von kein Sfeikes. He did not hold a grudge about, didn't hold grudges, didn't take offense from anybody. He didn't know about any doubts. Es ist genug gewesen, als so ist geschrieben in der Torah. It was enough for him that this is how it is written in the Torah. No question about it. Euch in Parnose Sachen hat nicht gesorgt. Also, he did not worry about making a living. He did not care. Er hat sich verlost auf Gott. He relied on God, als wird ihm schon speisen, wie speist alle seine Brüder von Wieseltier bis dem kleinsten Beschäftigten. Sein Betochen oder Greich bis Naivität. He was sure that God will provide for him, feed him, just like he feeds all of his creatures. Von Wieseltier, I don't know what it is.
A Wieseltier is a bison.
Oh, okay. Okay, from bison to the smallest, to the smallest living being. His confidence was it really was it bordered with naivety. Okay.
Yeah.
It's it. Yeah. Okay. Zet schon sein mit Gottes Hilfe recht. Ist gewinn sein beliebt Wort jedes Mal, wenn es ist gewinn schlecht. It will already be right. It'll be okay. It was his favorite expression when things were bad. Hat fein gehad Eiges, nicht gekannt vor Trachtenischen und Sorgenischen. He hated worry. He could not stand thinking too deeply and worrying. Mein Mutter ist, wie ihr Vater, der Bilgoreier Rob, gewinn a große Baltachlinitze, a Sorgerin, a Zweiflerin, a Kopfmensch. So now my mother, like her father, the Rav of Bilgorai, she was very practically minded, a warrior, a Zweiflerin. I lost this word.
A doubter.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. A doubter. A brain person who always thought, who got into things, penetrated deeply into things, who could see, predict what could happen, was able to foresee, actually, to foresee what could happen. She loved to get deeply into things, to take on herself worry, to think about people, about the Trachten wegen Menschen, wegen der Welt, wegen Gott und seine Drochim, vertiefen sich in jeder Sache. She liked to take on herself worry, to think about people, about the world, about God and his ways, to go deep into every issue. Mit ein Wort, sie ist gewähnt durchaus intellektual, aidene mit einem ansbilischen Kopf. In one word, she was completely intellectual, a Jewish woman with a manly head. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would Susan like to read?
I will try. I didn't get to prepare it, but I will try.
Okay.
Okay. Sie hat mein Vater lieb gehabt. She loved my father. Und wenn pflegt amol, der fühlen sich schwachlich. And when sometimes he felt kind of weak, pflegt sie ihm Pilnevin. When he felt kind of weak, she used to, was is Pilnevin?
Pamper.
Pamper. Weggeben Mama dem letzten Bissen. Give him the last bite von ihr eigen Maul, from the last bite from her own mouth. Aber sie hat ihm nicht gekannt Meuchel sein, but she couldn't forgive him sein kinderischen Betochen, his childly faith und Leichtsinnigkeit und das nicht haben kein All auf dem Kopf. So she couldn't forgive him his faith and Leichtsinnigkeit, thoughtlessness, and not having a strong head und nicht trachten wegen a Tachlis, and not think of how things will work out for Weib und Kinder, for the wife and children.
Sorry, all of Cobb is like a burden. He didn't have any. He felt no responsibility. He has no burden on his head. He wasn't carrying any.
Wasn't caring about the future of his wife. Bei kein Fall hat sie ihm nicht gekannt Meuchel sein, but in no way could she forgive him for this. Was hat nicht gewollt begleiten kein Examen, which he wouldn't take a test und wären Rov in a größere Kehila. He would take the rabbi's test and become a rabbi in a larger congregation. Wo wollt gekannt haben COVID, where he would have respect und Parnosa and earn a good living. Nor hat sie herabgebracht zum verworfenem Heck Lenchen. So, but he brought her to the, I'm not sure, verworfene Heck Luncheon.
A faraway end of the world. He's like the edge, the end of the world. He brought her to the end of the world, to that faraway, secluded end of the world. Lenchen is the name of the town.
Of the end of Lenchen. Maybe
Lenchen was the end of the world.
Oh.
The town was the
Lenchen. Wo sie hat gemusst leben in the
Nachkes.
That's poverty.
Where she was reduced to living in poverty, in Umit, in sadness, verworfen von der Bilgerei, far away from Bilgerei, und versteckt zwischen Proste, dorfische, unwissendige Weiber, and stuck away among Proste and dorfish, little town, and unknowledgeable women, mit wem sie hat kein Wort nicht gekannt ausreden, with whom she couldn't talk, wasn't able to talk a word with them. Auf wie viel sie hat sich nicht bemüht zu sein freundlich, even though she tried as much as she could to be friendly mit die Weiber, with the women, hat sie nicht gekannt. She couldn't. Unknippen kein emisse Freundschaft. She couldn't pinch together a real friendship. Die Weiber haben gerät wegen Kochen. The women talked about cooking, Speis, what foods they ate, Kleider, und wegen allerlei andere weiberische Unionen. They talked about food, clothing, and all kinds of other womanly matters. In der Zeit, wenn mein Mutter is gewesen verinteressiert in hechere Unionen, at a time when my mother was interested in higher matters. Ihre beliebstes Forum seien gewesen her best loved books, der Chovat Halavovas, something about what book is that?
It's the obligation, the heart's obligation. But I don't know anything about this book. Maybe Yankov
Maybe
knows.
for women, probably their Masela Yeshirim. And another book, which would be, we'll have to look that up, Maselas Yeshirim.
The path of the honest. Huh?
And their Reishis Chochma, the beginning of wisdom. Their Bechines Oilem, something about the world. Bechina. Their Sefer Hisher, and the book of Hisher, and others. I've never heard of that.
Sefer HaYashar, the book, the honest book, or the book of honesty, or the right book, something like this. Yashar is honest.
Oh,
Correct.
the correct road to take. Sie hat euch over.
Can I just go through briefly
Please,
what these books are? Chovos HaLevavos, The Duties of the Heart, written by Bachya ibn Pakuda, who lived in the 11th century.
Okay.
Mesilas Yesharim was the Path of the Upright, was written by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto of the 18th century, a Musar, an ethical text. Reishis Chochma, the beginning of wisdom, was written in the 16th century by Rabbi Eliyahu Vidas, and that was based largely on the Zohar. Bechinas Olam, the contemplation of the world, a 13th century philosophical work. And Sefer HaYashar was the book of correct record, which was a medieval midrash.
Thank you, Yankov.
So these are all very intellectual books dealing with philosophy and Musar, the midrash stories, and philosophy. And the women in the town, all they spoke about was food and clothing and mundane things.
Thank you.
Sie hat euch aber wieder einmal gelernt teure. She always went back and learned and continued studying Torah, Nevi'im, the prophet, Ksuvim, and what are the Ksuvim called in English?
The writings.
The writings. Wo sie hat gekannt, äußern wenig, which she knew by heart. Mein Vater, a Chossid, is kein größer Boki in Nevi'im. My father, who was a Chossid, he was no specialist in prophets and in Kesubim. He didn't know that much. He wasn't know about prophets and writings. Nicht gewesen, he was not. Hat bloß gedenkt jeden Posuk in Torah. He remembered each passage in the Torah. Und jedes Mal, wenn pflegt darfen wissen, and every time he needed to know something, wo zu gefinnen a Posuk, where to find a particular portion, in Ot die Sforum, in these holy books, hat gefragt mein Mutter. He asked my mother. Und sie hat ihm gesagt, genau, and she told him exactly in welche Kapitel es gefindt sich, exactly in what chapter it was found. Sie hat euch lieb gehabt zu lernen die moderne Sforum. She also loved to read modern books. Was haben sich verwaltet bei uns, which were always, wandering around their house there. For example, like Sefer Habris, was his Gemisch von Wissenschaft und Bobbemeisters. Well, Sefer Habris, which was a strange mixture of knowledge and Bobbemeisters.
Yeah, so the Sefer Habris, it was first published in 1797 and written by Rabbi Pinchas of Vilna, who was a Kabbalist, and it had in it scientific knowledge, astronomy, geography, physics, and it was very popular in the 19th century.
Shvili Oilam, that's another book. And
Shvilei Oilam.
Shvilai Oilam and Yosifon.
And Yosifon.
Und
So the Shvilei Oilam was published in the 1860s, and it gave a lot of geographic information about Asia, Africa, Europe, and it contained the first map of Eretz Yisrael.
Oh, and maybe they were talking about your South Africa as well.
Well, Efsher, yo.
Okay.
And Yosipon was a book which was based on Josephus Flavius.
Yeah, Flavius from the Roman times.
From Roman times.
Who wrote the wars of the Jews and the Romans.
Right.
Yeah, I have the book. I have the book in Hebrew, yeah.
Yeah.
and
But it was translated into Yiddish and into Hebrew.
und enke azelige Sforum, and on with such books. Seien dik vernomen mit Leumdus, being taken up by learning, hat sie der Ribbe gar nicht gehabt wegen was zu reden mit die Weiber. So because she was taken up by studying herself, she therefore had nothing to say to talk with the women. Kein große Brie,
Beria.
kein große Barrier in Sachen is sie euch nicht gewesen. She wasn't a big barrier, very accomplished in household tasks. Bei ihr Vater in Haus hat sie keinmal nicht gekocht. In her father's house, she never cooked. Nicht genäht, she didn't sew. Nicht geräumt.
Never cleaned the house.
Hmm.
And what is good? Oh, never cleaned up.
Yeah.
Geräumt is she never cleaned house.
Yeah, right.
Und wenn sie hat es gemusst tun, bei sich, when she had to do these things in her own house, hat sie es getun unkenntlich. She did it without really knowing. Uncheshek, not really wanting to do it, with no desire. Wie auf Joitze zu sein, just to finish up. Mein Vater hat sich keinmal nicht geklugt auf die Macholen. My father never complained about the food, was sie hat ihm erlangt, which she served him. Aber ich pfleg merken, but I remember noticing, als hat sie nicht übrig lieb gehabt. He wasn't too fond of the food. A viele ich, a kind, mit a hübsche Appetit, even myself, a child with quite an appetite, hat von deswegen gefühlt, therefore I felt, as andere Weiber kochen besser, that other women cook better wie my Mama. Jedes Mal, wenn mein Vater pflegt mich mitnehmen auf a bris, and every time my father brought me with him to a bris, sie auf ein anderes Simcha or to another Simcha, habe ich erst gefühlt, wie betammt es können sein gefüllte fish. I first realized how delicious gefüllte fish can be. Sie geprägelte Meerensimmes or fried meeren carrot simmes, gebraten Fleisch, cooked meat und noch gesellige Sachen and other such things. Ich habe es einmal gesucht, mein Mutter. I once said to my mother, Freitag zu Nacht beim Tisch, on Friday night at the table. I told her this. Mein Vater hat mich geheißen schweigen. My father told me to shut up. Aber ich hab gemerkt, wie hat Bishas Meiser geschmeichelt. But I observed how he at the same time smiled. Wie wollt euch gefühlt zu sagen, as though he felt the same thing. Could they zu verglätten die Sach, hat genommen, überzogen, my Mutter, to smooth over the thing. He began to tell my mother a Chiddush auf der Parsha von der Woche. So he began to discuss with her the Parsha of the week. Is ihm eingefallen, which eingefallen, he was now studying it.
It occurred to him.
It dawned on him that Parsha, that came into his mind, so he talked about it.
He talked about the Parsha to cover up for the boy mentioning his mother's not cooking. Should I still go on?
Yeah, whichever you like. Susan, you should be with us. You read wonderfully.
Oh, thank you. I will try to.
You should be with us. Yeah.
This is the Machaya to be with you. I'm Machaya.
Yeah, it's a machaya to listen to you, and just a few words that you didn't know, but if you were to if you prepare, you will be wonderful.
Yes, I will
Better
try to
than all of
prepare.
us. Yeah.
Well, I'm a good reader. That's
Yeah, no, you understand Yiddish. Yeah. So whose turn is it now?
I think it's
Yaakov.
my turn. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, mein Mutter hat ausgehört, aber kein groß Begeisterung hat sie nicht herausgewiesen. My mother listened to what he said, but she didn't show any great enthusiasm about it. Wie viel Chidushim es seinen Gewinn auf Teure in die 32 Perushim von unseren Chumoshim hat sie alle gekannt. So, however many interpretations there were in the Torah, in the 22 commentaries of our in our Chumashim, she knew them all. And sie ist nicht nispal geworden, als gich von a neuem Chiddush. And she wasn't she didn't become excited about any new interpretation. Mein Vater ist gewesen ein Baal Marich. Hat lieb gehabt, euch zu teachen a Sach mit a Sachwärter. So my father used to tend to go on about things. He loved to explain a matter mit a Sachwärter, to explain a matter very verbosely. Oftmal übergasendig dieselbe Sach einige Mal, and frequently he would repeat things several times. Das ist gewesen sein Steiger in Lernen, in tagtägliche Sachen. And this was the way he did things, both in studying and in daily matters. Dabei pflegt haben a Teva zu sagen, versteht ihr mich? A viele, wenn hat gerät zu Emerson. So in addition, he also had this habit of saying, versteht ihr mich? Do you understand what I'm saying? Even when he was talking to somebody, wenn hat gesagt du. Even when he was talking to somebody to whom he spoke in the familiar terminology of do.
Somebody in a lower class.
No, not necessarily. Somebody familiar.
You say do in Yiddish when to a close friend or a relative,
Yeah.
and here when it's more formal, you don't know the person or somebody that you want to show a lot of respect to. But do is like an expression. It shows more of an intimate connection.
Familiarity.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, familiarity. Yeah. So he was mixing the do and the ear when he said verstehst. Versteht ihr?
Versteht ihr mich?
It's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Mein Mutter wieder ist allemal gewesen kurz und scharf. My mother, on the other hand, was always short, brief, and sharp. A Rendel Wort. Und jede Austeitschung und a Riches ist ihr Gewinn der Wieder. So she, a Rendel Wort, she didn't speak that much. She was very brief in what she said. And each explanation was is given was to go on and on with explanations was odious to her. So a rendel is actually a gold coin. So she was sparse in the words that she used. Cher, hat sie gesagt, mit einer leichten Ungeduld und kein Spur von Hislaves nicht herausgewiesen, weil jeder Hislaves ist ihr Gewinn fremd So she said, I can hear, I know. She said with slight impatience and with no spoor, no evidence of any excitement did she show, because because excitement for her was alien. Und sagen das, was sie hat nicht gefühlt, hat sie nicht gekannt. And to say something which she didn't feel, she was unable to do. Der Emmes ist bei ihr der Gangen bis der höchste Stupe. In truth, for her, it went to the highest level.
Isn't it the truth was for her of highest importance?
Of the highest importance, correct. Yes, the truth, the emes, was of the highest importance to her. Und wenn sie hat nicht gekannt, sagen dem vollen emes, hat sie besser geschwiegen. And when she couldn't say the whole truth, she would rather keep quiet. Mein Vater, der Enthusiast, was hat lieb gehabt, sagen andere Menschen Guts und Herrenguts, hat sich der Fehlt unheimlich von mein Mutters Schweigen und scharfen Blick von ihrer große greue Augen. Was haben gesehen Menschen durch und durch. My father, who was this enthusiastic person, he loved to tell good things to people and hear news from people. He felt uncomfortable about my mother's silence and her sharp glances. The sharp glances from her big grey eyes, which penetrated people, which could see through people. Fleckt darüber übergehend zu seines Meeres. And he would start singing Zmiris in order to change the subject. Yoriboin olam ve'omaya fleckt singen. So that's
Yariboin olam ve'omaya ve'omaya.
So he started singing that mit Bren, die kabbalistische Zmiris, and he sang this with this kabbalistic Zmiris, was seinen Gewinn zugepasst zu sein Gemüt, and this Zmiris was suitable to his mood. Okay, Rochel.
Okay. May I address a question to our Rov? Susan, we have a Rov in class, and I don't think it'll be difficult for you to guess who it is. Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah. Okay. This is my question. It said here that the father wasn't all that knowledgeable about Nevi'im and Ktuvim, and he knew the Torah. He knew by heart Torah verses, but not Nevi'im, Ktuvim. And I don't know. I think, and this is the question: is it true that the Hasidim don't study Tanakh? They don't study. They don't study Nevi'im Tuvim, the Torah, and that's it. Is that so? This is what I thought was a fact, but I see it here now. So this is my question to you: is it so?
Yeah, it is so in religious circles. The emphasis is on Talmud.
On Torah,
Yes.
but on Chumash and Talmud.
Chumash and Talmud, more Talmud, and they know the passages that are quoted in the Talmud. But and because the Torah is read on a weekly basis, they know the Chumash. But Nevi'im and Ketuvim, they don't know that well because they never really study it. Because the emphasis is on Talmud and Midrash, on the halachic books, the Rambam and
Dinim. Yeah, thank you.
and so on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now I got an answer. I always thought that, but yeah, thank you.
In fact, in religious circles today in Israel, there's a
Yes.
movement to start to read the Tanakh again.
In religious circles.
In religious circles, yes. There's a rabbi in Jerusalem who has a program of reading a chapter a week, or not even a chapter, but several verses a week. And to go into it fairly deeply, and starting at the beginning of the Torah and going through the Torah, the Nevi'im and the Kesuvim.
I understand. And does he have a big following? Do you know?
It's online, and I believe that he has quite a big following, yes. There are many people who do it on a weekly basis, in the same way that they do the Daf Yomi of the Talmud. They study a page of Talmud every day. They do a certain amount of the Tanakh every day.
This is so interesting. It's just as in Israel, in secular Jews study Talmud. They have gone back to the sources and they want to know the Gemara and the Mishnah and all that. Yeah, also. This is what I know, that a lot of secular people have taken up Gemara. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Yankiv. So now it's my turn? Okay. Noch zurückgehaltener ist mein Mutter gewesen mit fremden Menschen. But zurückgehaltener, she controlled, self-controlled.
Reticent.
Pardon?
Reticent.
Reticent? There goes. So now I'm learning English too, you see. Yeah. Reticent. Thank you. So my mother was reticent with strangers. Die poste städtische Weiber haben lieb gehabt zu berimmen sich mit seine Tates und Seides, wo seinen gewähn eingeher bei Pritzim mit der Melamed oder der Scheuchet in der Mischproche. Und sie haben der Wort von der Rebbetzin Hispalus für ihre Meiles und Herren wegen ihr Jiches und ihre Meiles. So those simpleton town women like to boast about their fathers and grandfathers that were visitors in the residences of the nobility, and who had also a melamed, a teacher, or or a slaughterer in the family, and they were expecting from the Rebbetzin, that's his mother, Singer's mother, to be to admire the virtues of their fathers and grandfathers, and they also expected to hear regarding her pedigree and her own virtues. Aber my Mutter hat das Rov geschwiegen, but my mother would most of the time keep quiet. Also hat sie sich nicht gekarlet. How would you
Cult.
gekalt? Yeah, from
Yeah.
Kehila.
From
Gekalt.
Kahal.
Kahal, I know. Gekalt. Auf Hassanes und Brissen, nicht geführt die Gründe, auf Schulfirnisch und andere Simches. She did not socialize. She wasn't part of the Kahal, the social scene at weddings and at circumcision ceremonies. She did not lead the circle in the synagogue, and at other celebrations. Auf welche die Weiber sitzen die in sehr besondere Chadorim, ob gesundert von die Männer, haben geführt Tisch mit alle Pitschewkes, nicht aufzustehen von die Mannsbillen bei sehr Tischen. In those celebrations, the women who were sitting in the separate quarters, separated from the men, and they conducted with all the details that needed to be executed, not to be behind, not to lag behind the men at their tables. Die Weiber haben sich gefühlt unheimlich mit ihr, enttäuscht und fremd. The women felt uncomfortable with her, disappointed and strange. Das hat ausgenutzt, was man hat sie gerufen, die treterliche Aufnahmen von ihrem Mann, Reb Tretel. This was used by a woman who was called the traitor, after her husband. Her husband was Reb Tretel, so they called her the traitor, the traitor
Leche. Traitor
the
leche.
traitor leche, okay. Die Treterleche ist gewesen a kurze fette Idene, breiter wie länger. Yeah, so this Treterleche was a short and fat a Jewish woman. She was wider than longer. Yeah, a schwarze, aber redevdike, dazu hat sie sich gehalten für ein Stück Rebbetzin. She was a dark, baredev decay. I don't know what it is.
Talkative.
Ah, of course, baredev decay. It's not of course. Baredev decay is, thank you, not just talkative, but baredev,
Talk too much.
Gossip.
a gossip, a
Talk too
gossip.
much.
Yeah, no, bareden imetsen is like to gossip, talking about people. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, bareden is like, yeah.
Uh,
She was a a gossip. This is some description. Dazu hat sie sich gehalten für ein Stück Rebbetzin. And on top of all that, she considered herself a Rebbetzin. Like the wife of a rabbi, or like somebody that knows something, but ihr Vater is given a Dayan in a Städtele mit Nomen Piontek. Why did she consider herself a Rebbetzin? Because her father was a judge, actually a religious judge in a town called Piontek. That doesn't give you the title Rebbetzin if your father was a Dayan, but she called
Yeah.
herself. She considered, she thought she was a Rebbetzin. Okay. Sie hat der Rieber nicht aufgehört zu erzählen Nissim und Nifloes von Vater ihrem, dem Dayan in Piontek. Therefore, she didn't stop telling miracles and wonders that her about her father, the judge from Piontek. Marsha, you want to take it up a little? I'm on the last line. Marsha? I don't think.
no, no.
Marsha? Wie viel Mal sie vielleicht reinkommen zu meiner Mutter? Okay, I can read from the book, actually.
No, it's,
I always
go
read
down.
it from, yeah. But Marsha? But Susan, Susan, do you have the
Susan
book?
is reading. I think I'm in the right place.
No, you must go
No,
down.
no, you moved it too much.
I thought I was in the right place before.
I think you were in the right place
Yeah,
before.
one moment, because when I move it, sometimes the mouse doesn't want to work. Okay, so this was the right place, right? You didn't finish
Yeah,
this
okay.
paragraph.
That's fine. That's fine. Don't move it more.
Okay. Wie viel Mal sie vielleicht reinkommen zu meiner Mutter, vielleicht, I don't see.
Ja, vielleicht mein Herren.
I think,
I
Rachel, you went down too much. You got to finish this paragraph for them and then go.
okay,
Go
I
up to the
I don't
36.
see it. It's not, I don't,
36 by you.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 lines from the bottom of the page.
Thank you.
Wie viel Mal sie vielleicht reinkommen?
6 lines from the bottom of page 35.
Of page 36.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I have it, yeah, thank you. Wie viel Mal sie vielleicht reinkommen zu meiner Mutter, vielleicht mein Herren die ganze Zeit in Geschichte. Piontek und Piontek. As many times she would come into my mother's house, you could hear the whole entire time one story, Piontek und Piontek. All she talked about is the town where her father was a judge. Ot die Idene und darüber genommen führen die Gründe zwischen die städteldicke Weiber. Sie hat gesagt, der es gemischt sich gesagt, Mevines, gepasst und weibersche Scheiles, Hagam sie hat kein gekannt Davenen und so reingenommen die Weiber in die kurze, fette Hand, als sie ist geworden, die Rebetzen und mein Mutter, die Lamdones, hat man nicht gesehen und nicht gehört. Okay. So this Jewish woman started to be the leader of the circle among these town, these women of the little town, of the little shtetl. She started expressing her opinions. She intervened in things. She expressed opinion or knowledge. She issued judgments regarding women's questions, even though she was barely able to pray. And so she used to hug the women in her short, fat hands. And so, reingenommen, she took them in. She took them into her short, fat hands, and so that this woman became the Rebbetzin, and my mother, the scholar, was not seen and not heard. Mein Mutter pflegt Leiden zu lieb, ihr nicht kennen, Häusen mit Menschen. My mother used to suffer because she wasn't able to socialize with people. Sie ist gewesen allein, elend, einsam. She was alone and lonely. Elend and einsam is the same thing. Yeah, see, Yiddish is like that. Synonyms one after the other. חוץ dem hat sie gewusst, als sie macht euch kalle die Maracha von meinem Vater in sein Rabbones, weil anstatt machen Freund, wie Rebetzen darf, macht sie Sonnen. Besides, she knew that she was ruining, I would say, the position of my father in his rabbinate, in being a rabbi. She was ruining his standing as a rabbi, because instead of making friends like a Rebbetzin has to, she makes enemies. Aber sie hat nicht gekannt befreien sich. Sie hat nie gekannt befreien sich mit Menschen, wo seinen ihr gewähnt friend, but she could not make friends with people who were strangers to her. Okay, Susan, go on, please.
Sie hat probiert bekämpfen es in sich. She tried to fight this within herself. Aber der Volk, but she wasn't able. Die Weiber von Städtel, gutmutige, proste, dorfische, gesunde, the women of the shtetl, good-humored, simple good townspeople, haben nicht verstanden, didn't understand, verwus die Rebbitzen zult sich nicht up mit Freundschaft. Why the Rebbitzen doesn't pay herself back with friendships for Feindschaft. Oh, pay back friendship with friendship.
Yeah.
Sie haben sie umgenommen für a Ball
Gaivenitzer.
about Gaivenitzer, and they thought that she was showing off. Was that about Gaivenitzer show off?
She was a haughty.
Yeah, haughty.
Haughty, that's the word in haughty.
Oh yes, right. She was haughty. That's good. A gross halterin. She thought a lot of herself. Was in Emerson is sie es nicht gewesen auf kein Hor, which in reality she wasn't that at all. Verkehrt, just the opposite. Sie ist bei sich damit gewesen gefallen. She was always thought lowly of herself.
Yeah. She thought, yeah.
Sie hat keinmal nicht gehalten von sich. She never thought much of herself. Und gehabt keines zu sich. And she had complaints to herself. Sie hat sich euch keinmal nicht gerühmt. She never boasted. Nicht herausgewiesen kein Lomdus. And she didn't boast about or show off her knowledge. Nor grod gehalten sich mit dem, was sie hat gekannt. Just she did well with what she was able, what she was.
She was hiding.
Oh, okay. She was
hiding.
She hid as much as she could.
Yeah.
Mehr wie von ihr Dachkes. Dachkes, we had that before. What does it mean?
Yeah, poverty.
Oh, Dachkes. More than her poverty.
That's Hebrew, yeah.
Und müssen tun Arbeit in Haus, and then she had to work in the house. Zu was sie ist nicht zugewohnt, she wasn't used to gewöhnt, und kein Koyach nicht gehabt dazu, and she really didn't have any strength for it, hat sie gelitten von ihr Elend in dem Heck. She suffered from being alone.
Yeah, in that hole, in that end of the world.
In that far corner of the world.
Yeah, right.
Ihr Einsamkeit, her loneliness is gewesen nicht überzutragen. She couldn't stand it. Und sie hat der Rebbe sich noch mehr vertieft in this forum. And so she went deeper and deeper into her book learning. Sie hat gelernt alles Forum. She studied all in this forum of the holy books. Was gewesen in mein Vaters Stub. All the holy books that were in my father's house. Von Muser's forum, from the Muser books, bis allerlei Drosh's forum, books with
interpretations.
Okay, Midrashim and Midrashim. Ein Yaakov.
And Yaakov.
Ein Yaakov. Oh. Ein Yaakov and afilu Kabbalah's and she even studied Kabbalah. She even studied Kabbalah. Kabbalah's forum. Wenn noch sie hat gehabt Zeit, hat sie sich weggelegt auf dem Bett ungelehnt. Whenever she had the little time, she lay down on the bed and she read. Von Zeit zu Zeit pflegt sie reinfallen in a frommer Stimmung, and sometimes she went into a bad mood und nicht herausgelost den Shabbos Muser.
Shevet,
It's
Shevet
a religious mood. No, it's not a bad mood. She went into a
Oh, the
religious.
Shebach Muser. What is
This is a fromer Stimmung is a religious mood. She would fall into a religious mood, and
oh,
then
religious?
yeah, uh-huh.
And she wouldn't let go of what's this shit?
The Shevet Musar. It's a book called the Shevet Musar, which a book that was an ethical work, which was divided into 52 chapters, one for each week of the year.
Oh, and she wouldn't
Wow.
let that book out of her hand. The Shevet Muser is gewein alt und gel. The Shevet Muser she used was old and yellowing und full mit Simonim von Tränen, and full of leftover from tears. People had cried into it. Was mein Mutter, oh, she cried into, was mein Mutter hat rein geweint in him, which my mother cried into it. Oh, Jose. Ich pfleg jingelweise mul reingucken in him. And sometimes when I was a boy, I would look into that book in dem Ivriteit, in the translation part, the Yiddish translation, was is gewein unter dem Loshen Kodesh text, which was written under the Hebrew text. Das ganze Sefer is gewein full mit Meises von Gehennem. The Holy Book was full of stories about hell. Wie men brought dort, how people, it burning there, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Und me brought and brent, they roasted and burned. Und men pregelt und men legt auf Stechbettlach, and they burned and they put people on bed of sticks. The Zindike, the people, the sinners were on, what do you call a bed of sticks that stick into you? What's it called?
Yeah, a bed of nails.
A bed of nails. Okay, yes. Was hielten nicht ob alle dinim und mitzvahs, the people who don't follow the laws and the mitzvahs, and they would be on the bed of flames. Der Mechaber von Shevet Musar, the author of the Shevet Musar, hat sich gefühlt so heimisch in Gehennem. He felt so much at home in Gehennem, in alle seine Wegen, in all its ways, Wegen und Stegen, all the ways it had, und Upteilungen and all its
Compartments,
its portions. Wollte dort geboren, as though he were born there, under Zeugen geworden, and he grew up there.
yeah.
Seine Schilderungen wegen die Pein und Erneuem.
Annoying. Yeah, that's torture. Inuim is torture.
Torture, oh, on the hard tortures.
Hard
Okay.
torture, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And he would talk about the hard tortures, was men tut dort und die tut dort und die Roshim, what they do to the bad people, seinen gewein, die fantastisch, most fantastic, the tortures. Genug, als Freu soll vergessen und updecken die Brust, enough that a woman would forget and would
And bear.
To forget to cover.
She would forget to cover her bosom for a mansbill. If a woman forgot to cover her bosom beim Unsegen ihr Kind. Oh, well, when she was nursing her child. Oh, she didn't cover herself when she was nursing her child. Oy, oy.
Yeah, then she is doomed to